Hey there, everybody. It's your girl Barbie J here with the recap and review of Tyler Perry's new drama, Divorce Sisters, Season 1, Episode 4, Line in the Sand. And the synopsis for this episode reads: Naomi lashes out in response to her ex husband's ultimate act of disrespect, and he was seriously disrespectful, y'all, at this church event. And Rashida and Pastor Jefferson have a moment of hurtful truths. And that is true as well. But honestly, I don't think her husband hears her when she's trying to talk to him. So before we get started with this recap and review, if you are new here or if you're returning and have not subscribed to this channel as of yet, please take a moment right now. Hit that subscribe button, then hit the notification bell and select all. It'll let you know every time I upload any new content to this channel. Then I ask that you hit that like button, which is the thumbs up button. Write a comment and join the conversation, and share the video because sharing is caring and you want to help this sister's channel grow. Like I said, I have to rebuild now because I have been MIA for the last 3.5 months going through something, and I'm going live tonight on Thursday, July 10th, to explain where I've been and what's been going on. So hopefully I will see you all then. Now, back to this recap. Well, honey, this church function was full of so much excitement, it was ridiculous. I gotta tell you, from the moment that Naomi came in there drunk, and Franklin and Lindsay are sitting there, his new 25-year-old white wife, and the auction started, oh my God, this was just too much for me. Y'all got to put it down in the comment section what y'all thought about this scene. But it had a lot going on. I'm not going to talk about everything, but let's just jump over to the part where they said, let's see, Naomi, they were trying to get her to drink coffee. She didn't want to drink no coffee. She's flirting with Javon, saying, who's that? Tiffany, are you on a date? And you hear Geneva like, no, they're not together, something like that. I'm like, oh, Geneva, stop letting it show, girl. Keep quiet. Anyway, they bring she's like, bring hot coffee, bring a whole pot of coffee over there on the table. So when they start the auction, here we are. There's this old Bible being auctioned off, and Lindsay's like, oh, we should get that for my mother and all of this stuff. And I'm just like, Naomi said, look at the devil wanting to buy a Bible. I was laughing, I was cracking up. But the fact that Jefferson is trying to get Rashida to make Naomi leave, meanwhile, she's telling him to stop letting Franklin start trouble, because at one point he did tell Franklin, don't say that, don't do that at the table, which I was shocked that Jefferson said that, because he finally said something against Franklin. But you'll see in the rest of the episode, he doesn't. He condones everything that Franklin does and says. But when they buy the Bible, there's something said about this would be a good money to help the church. And he said, that should help the church. And the pastor's like, yes, it really would. And Naomi calls him out on his $300,000 vehicle out there in front of the church where all these people are in need. I said, exactly. How are you having a fundraiser needing money, and then you gonna sit there with your expensive car out front in their faces? But now it's the point where they put a piece. Oh, I like when Naomi said, I like your earrings, and the girl kind of smiled and she said, yes, my husband gave them to me for a wedding gift. Boop. I was like, I would have been snatching up things out my ear. Why would you want to wear some earrings that was a gift to his ex-wife? Come on, who wants that? I don't know. Maybe it's me, y'all, but I wouldn't want it. But anyway, Franklin gets up there talking about with that artwork he wants to explain. And the time he took to explain that and say the nasty, evil things he did at a church function, and Franklin's sitting quiet, and Rashida's telling him, stop him. No, let him finish. I can't do that. Let him finish. What do you mean let him finish? This is a church function. He's saying his wife was evil. She was mean. She has a tiny heart. I never even liked this painting. It was, she was close to her brother. He's saying all of these things that he wanted in a divorce settlement. So how does that make him look? You took something from your wife that belonged to her brother who died, a drug addiction, and now you trying to raffle it off for $10. This is a fundraiser, so they're trying to make money. So Jefferson should have been upset with that and annoyed, in my opinion. Dude, people are bidding on it and you telling them to keep it low. How am I going to make money for it? And the little Lindsay is turning around kind of smirking and smiling, but who wants a man like that? Because if he did it to this wife, he might do it to you. You're next when the new next younger thing comes around. And I wouldn't have wanted to stand up and he's like, my new wife, she's this and she's that. No, baby. You had an affair. You were cheating with a married man and you standing up there smiling like it's okay. Jefferson, you're saying your wife is evil and all of this stuff. You were having an affair, cheating on her. In the eyes of God, that's wrong. So why are you at a church function trying to put her down when you the one who were doing wrong? You were the one doing wrong. I mean, am I right, y'all? I could be wrong, but I don't know. But anyway, Tiffany wasn't hearing it. Tiffany was like $5,000, which made the bidding go up. So Franklin got mad and then said he'll buy it for $5 million. Talking about we could hang it in the garage. And the Lindsay is like smiling. I was like, oh, this is ridiculous. So the fact that these people around, if they weren't listening and putting two and two together, I would be looking at him sideways. I would not be thinking that Franklin was a good person if I was a church member sitting there listening to all of that. So now that he's gotten under Naomi's skin, she got mad. She wanted to leave and she took that pot of coffee and threw it over there and it hit Lindsay in the back and all chaos broke out and poor little Jefferson got hit too and his arm got burned and it was just a whole big thing. Everybody's running. Who's Jefferson's security or whatever? What's that guy? Myron or Byron or something like that? He's a trip. He's like, can we get security to get her out? Dude, mind your business. All of these people there, you don't have a say in none of this, okay? I don't know. She's not bothering you, so let it go. Anyway, they all afterwards are meeting in the room and everybody's making arrangement. Who's going to take who's home, who's going to the hospital with who's going to check to the prison. And this doggone Javon is always trying to jump in and help and assist when Geneva said, I got it, but he still want to jump in. Oh, let me go back. He did try to break up some of the tension at the table, saying that he was a little bit of a photographer and all that stuff. That was good. He tried to help out then. I appreciate that. But anyway, back to this little office. So William says, you know what? I'll go home, check on Anika and stay with her, relieve the babysitter. Gonna tell Javon, could you just go with her and take her? And he's like, fine. So, Tiffany's peeping all this. Tiffany's like, well, I'm going too, and I'm glad. I don't know. It seemed like Geneva should have been happy she's going too because I thought she didn't want to be around him. But she seemed to take offense about it later on when she see them talking and giggling together in the prison. Bridget told William she'll take him home. And then Myron gonna tell his wife, I'm gonna drive the pastor home. So how the wife getting home? You gonna leave your wife hanging to be with the pastor? The pastor said, no, I'm good. You go. And you should have saw Rashida looking at him like, what's up with that? What is up with this? So now we see Bridget and William in the car and they're driving and William's like, yo, that was messed up what he did. I can't believe he did that. And Bridget was like, I'm glad you saw it. I couldn't believe it either. It's like he was trying to torture her, is what William said. And that's just what he was doing at a church event. That's why I was saying Franklin was wrong, for that. But then they also flipped and said how what Naomi did wasn't right either. And Bridget was feeling bad because she brought her the coffee. He said, but did you know she was going to do that? She's like, no, I didn't know he was going to do that. Then they start talking about Bridget saying how he loves on her friend. And he's like, Geneva's my soulmate. You know what I mean? So Bridget is wishing she could find a man like that. And he said, yeah, I saw your little friend and stuff. And she was saying, what am I doing? And William was like, you know what you doing. And so they started talking about if things don't work out with Javon and Tiffany, maybe she need to check Javon out, Javon or whatever, how they say it. And she called him classic William, like always so positive. And he's like, what's the alternative? Acting like Naomi. And they both started laughing. So now we in the other car that has Javon, Tiffany, and Geneva. And Javon is on the phone talking to judges, making deals while he's driving and everything. Geneva sitting there in the passenger side, quiet. Tiffany sitting in the back doing a lot of talking and, with Javon. And he brings up some pictures that he's taken of, Gigi, as he called them. And they just trying to make small talk. And she shuts it down. Geneva shuts it down. She don't want to hear the small talk. Do you not see what just happened? We're talking potential jail time for Naomi. And Tiffany's like, I was just trying to, take your mind over. I don't want my mind taken off anything. I want to head in there with things straight on, and I just have to be focused or something like that. So that ended that conversation. Then we're in the car with Jefferson and Rashida. And he looks at her and he's like, are you crying? And she just kind of like turned away and said, I see how he looks at you. And he's like, oh, I'm not going to go down this line with you. He's like, he was there with his wife. She said, who he barely paid any attention to. And I was like, wasn't Myron sitting at the table with the pastor, while his wife was sitting somewhere else? Like, come on. Then they start talking about what Naomi did. She said, I know, I was there. And he's like, I can't understand how you friends with her and all this stuff. He said, especially after what she did to that poor girl. She's like, poor girl. And he's like, are you judging? She's like, yes, her actions were awful. She had an affair with a married man, then got pregnant, and now they're sitting there taunting her. So yes, I am judging, and now I have to go to the hospital and pretend that I care. Then they started talking about their son, and he needs to talk to him about his grades and stuff. And he's like, got it. He said, anything else on my husband list? And I was like, that was your father list that you're not doing well, And so she said, you could try sleeping with your wife more than once every few months. And he's like, okay, got it. Like anything else. And she's like, don't patronize me. And all the stuff that he was saying, she was right. He tries to flip things on her. And she said, you undermine me, you ignore me, you overlook me, and don't even give me the respect that I deserve as a wife. And I was like, ooh, I said, she was on point. Somebody put it down in the comment section what y'all think about it, because that's what I was seeing. So next we see William getting home to relieve the babysitter, Sarah, and check on Anika. He calls Geneva right away to say that he's home, asking how things are going, asks if Tiffany is there, how are things going. Meanwhile, Geneva just staring at Tiffany and Javon talking to each other, and she's getting jealous. And I'm sitting there going, girl, why are you looking at them like that? So anyway, William was saying, seeing her all dressed up reminded him of prom. And he started trying to talk to her. And she said, I'm sorry, I got to go. And he's like, oh, okay, I love you. She would click and hung up and went back over there to see what they were laughing and giggling about. Javon is purposely trying to make her jealous. And she's falling for it. And I don't understand why. You can't be with him. You don't want to be with him. At least that's what you pretend you don't want to be with him. But you're going to get jealous because he's with Tiffany and talking to her? Let him do him. Then Bridget gets home and Vaughn tells her that he saw everything that happened, that somebody from the church posted it online. And he apologizes for today, how he behaved. And she's like, there's nothing to apologize for. And I'm like, girl, yes, there is. And you need to just let him go because you know that there's a problem that you're having. He must be super fantastic in bed. And that's why you're holding on to this young man, So he gives her some flowers saying, he wanted to show how much he loved her. And he's like, smell them. She's like, they ain't nothing to smell. They ain't real. Come to find out, he took them from the bathroom upstairs. He said, so I showed you how much I love you. Now you could go upstairs and run a bath for me to show me how much you love me. She said, boy, here these flowers back. And shook her head looking at him like he crazy. So now we have Franklin and Rashida showing up to the hospital and Myron is already there, which means he didn't take his wife home, which is ridiculous. But then Franklin comes out of his wife's room and he thanks them for coming. And then he starts talking about how Naomi has made his life so this. He's complaining about her. He called her biatch. And, he's going on in and he's telling Rashida she needs to talk to her friend. And she told him they both need to stop playing these games and stuff. And he said, you telling me you condone what she did? She said, I do not. She said, I've told her to stop, and now I'm telling you to stop. And he got mad and almost called her a biatch. I don't know if he did say it or not. And she said, what? Did you say bitch? She said, I got your biatch. And pastor's trying to get her to stop. Like, we in public, calm yourself down. But you should have checked him. You should have checked your boy on calling your wife anything other than her first name, okay, or first lady. How dare he disrespect her and call her out her name? So he tells Myron to take his wife home. She's like, She said, we came together and we leaving together. So he said, I would like to pray for your wife. He's telling Franklin. And Franklin said, okay, but she's not welcome. He goes, Myron, watch the first lady. She's like, what am I, a child? You don't watch me? Boy, don't you touch me. She went and sat down. So he goes in there to pray for him, pray for the wife. And of course, all of a sudden, Franklin's like, now because Rashida is friends with Naomi, he can't give him that money. She been friends when you offered to give that money. First of all, like I said, it was a fundraiser. So why you keep trying to keep the painting at $10? That's not helping the church make any money. You know what I mean? Anyway, so, Wussy Jefferson is sitting there going, okay, I completely understand. And then he has the nerve to question the pastor and his wife on how they treating how they associate themselves with Naomi. And I'm sitting there going, in their line of business, they have to treat everybody the same. That's a church, that's a community, and they supposed to love and care about everybody, not just because they have a problem with you. He need to check what he did and how he cheated on his own wife. I just don't get how these men or women, whoever does the cheating, whatever, think that it's okay to do that, and then you want to try to blame the other person. It made no sense to me. And so now the episode ends with Jefferson and Rashida in the car going home, and he lets her know that they're not going to get the money now because of Naomi. And I'm like, she ain't a member of the church. So I just don't get that. It makes no sense to me. So she lets him know that Franklin was never going to give them the money, that the only reason he came there to do just what he did, which was to taunt Naomi. And he said, no, he wasn't. He was going to give us the money. She said, when has he ever given money? See, that's what should have made Jefferson think. She said, when has he ever given us anything? He did just what he came there to do. And I said, you know what? She has a point, because she said, Franklin even told Jefferson that Lindsay didn't even want to come, but she came to make him happy. And he wanted her to come there just in case Naomi was there, to rub it in her face and taunt her and make her feel bad. Bing, bang, boom. That's what was going down, and that's just what happened. And then Jefferson had the nerve to try to put it on her, and she threw up in his face that your friend called me out of my name and you ain't say a daggone thing. So please don't say nothing. And Jefferson stayed quiet. He wasn't saying anything else because he didn't have no comeback behind that comment. And so they get to the house, and he looks over at her. He opens his car door and gets out and goes into the house and closes the door. He did not go over there and open her door for her, which is something that he always does. And she sat in that car saying, he didn't even open the door for me. He didn't open the door. And I can't believe it. I said, see, that man is letting the devil use him. That is not how a pastor should act. That is not how any Christian leader should be behaving towards their spouse. And so the episode went off like that. Y'all let me know down in the comment section what y'all thought about it, and I will see you all in the next video. Please do not forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share, because why? You want to help a sister's channel grow. I'm trying to build it back up. So I'll see you all on July 10th at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time when we go live. It's your girl Barbie J, saying peace.